let's jump to Xander Bogaerts here. Bogaerts, 30 years old, just turned 30 on October 1st. I have no idea where he's at in his relationship with the Boston Red Sox. And we'll get to that after we give you the primer on Xander. But, you know, this is a guy that felt disrespected by the extension proposals that were put in front of him at points this year. He straight up stopped negotiating with the Boston Red Sox and Chaim Bloom. And now Xander just opted out of the rest of his deal in hopes of getting a more lucrative deal. He opted out of $20 million annually through 2025 and a vesting option at $25 million in 2026, if I'm not mistaken. So this is a guy looking for well north of $20 million annually. And he's probably looking for a lot longer than a 4-year deal. I think he's going to get it. How do you view Xander Bogaerts in the value department?
Xander is one of the tougher free agents to evaluate, I think, in recent memory, because you look at his offensive resume as one of incredible. Like, if we're just looking at the stats here, just to quantify what he's been able to do in his career, he's a 117 OPS plus guy who's hitting 292 with plenty of home runs, stolen bases. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4 silver sluggers. He's finished in the MVP conversations a bunch of times, multiple time all-star, plenty of years hitting over 300. Like, just one of the best overall offensive shortstops that we've had in our game since he debuted back in 2013 as a 20-year-old. And he's never really had, one of those seasons where you think to yourself, like, for example, from 2018 when he was a 25-year-old where he was really hitting his prime, 135 OPS plus, 2019, 139 OPS plus, 128, 129, and then 131. So nobody is worried about the bat, but he will be 30. And I think, Xander Bogaerts got a lot of praise this year, and deservedly so, for the defense. But as beautifully illustrated in the article that you and Colby wrote, and Colby is a Red Sox fan, and he's the one writing this, that Bogaerts' defense benefited from the shift last season. And this is from at Red Sox Stats. Weird quirk about Bogaerts' great StatCast defensive metrics this season. Positioned as a shortstop, -1 outs above average. Positioned as a second baseman, +5 outs above average. Positioned as a third baseman, +1 outs above average. Now that the shift is being kicked out of baseball, he's going to have to man the shortstop position, where historically Bogaerts has not been very good. And as he ages, he is only going to get worse because Father Time is undefeated. We also have some not great StatCast hitting data. If we're looking at WOBA versus ex-WOBA, which is your quality of contact, the ex-WOBA, which is your expected WOBA, which takes into account like launch angle, hard hit rates, exit velocity, all that different kind of stuff, was much lower than the WOBA, which would basically point to that a lot of his hits might have been a bit luckier than other hitters.
They're monster balls. He is the king of the monster ball.
Exactly.
He's the king of the rising liner that hits the middle of the monster, caroms back. That's why he's a 40 double guy on a yearly basis.
And 30 years old is kind of a sticking point in baseball. He included the graph. That's why you guys got to go check out these articles over at justbaseball.com. And I don't want to take any credit for this because this is all from Colby and Jack. Like, on an age curve, this is given by Fangraphs from 2011 to 2020, you can see WRC plus just begins to kind of fall off a cliff historically after you turn the age of 30. Now, but I'm not really worried about Bogaerts' bat. I'm more worried about how valuable that bat is at the shortstop position when, as he gets older and slower, when the range metrics are already not that good, paying him a ton of money, more than a Dansby Swanson, for his age 30. Xander Bogaerts feels like the definition of, I'm paying you for what you did, not paying you for what you will be. That's why, as a team, I am very hesitant to give Xander Bogaerts a long-term deal. If I'm a GM and my owner is saying, we need Xander Bogaerts for whatever reason, because he deserves the money. He has been an incredible hitter now for what seems like a decade, and he deserves the money. But I would go up to Xander Bogaerts and I would say, if you want to be on our team, I would give him like a 4-year contract worth like 35 million or 40 million even, because in those 4 years, I know that the bat is going to give there. I know you're giving me the raised eyebrow in terms of that's a lot of money. And I agree. Maybe it is too much money. Maybe I'm being too much here, but that's how I would position. If I am a team giving him a 7-year deal, I am very scared. Not that he doesn't deserve a long-term contract for what he's done. It's what he will do is what I'm most concerned about.
So, first of all, that was a bar. He's going to get paid for what he did and not what he will do. Did Kendrick write that? The other thing is, I kind of see Xander in his early 30s as a third baseman. Is that out of bounds?
It's not out of bounds, but when you consider the offensive output at shortstop position compared to the third base position, it gets a little worse.
But he's 300 with 40 doubles.
Yes, but the doubles has a lot to do with Fenway. And, he knows how to play that park. If we're looking at quality of contact, that's what I'm saying. Like, if he goes into neutral fields, it's not quite as good. And the OPS plus numbers, 130 is 130. Regardless, I'm not trying to take anything away from Xander. I feel bad because it feels like in my statements, I'm saying that, like, Xander Bogaerts is not a very good hitter. He is a very, very good hitter. And I agree. If you move him over to third base, but how good of a defender is he going to be at third base? Because the third base position is full of donkeys that are insane defenders. Like, is Xander Bogaerts going to go over to third base and be Nolan Arenado defensively?
No,
is he going to be Matt Chapman defensively? But he's not as good a hitter as Nolan Arenado still. He's not a good hitter, in my opinion, as some of these guys. But I agree with you. If you are paying him to be a third baseman, that's one thing. But at the same time, does Xander Bogaerts want to be paid to play third base for the rest of his career? I don't think that he does. He has came out and said, I want to play shortstop.
I think he is a shortstop. I do think that he will play shortstop for the team that he signs with. However, I think that, we'll be having that conversation. Like, can you move Xander to third base? I don't know. Colby's got the contract prediction for Bogaerts at 6 years, 178, which is 29.7 annually. I really like that.
I think it's pretty accurate. I'm scared. I'd be scared.
But let's talk about who can do it. The Boston Red Sox, after John Henry sells Liverpool, they can do it. The question is, will Chaim Bloom shut it down? And I've got no idea. But
that's kind of breaking news, though. Like, John Henry is they're put Liverpool on the market.
Yeah,
they want to resign Devers and Bogaerts.
He might have like Red Sox money to spend. He might be looking at the 2026 free agent pool and saying, I need this Liverpool money.
Hopefully Red Sox fans are shouting in happiness after hearing that.
Oh, they had to be the biggest Chelsea fans on the planet. Like, you sell the squad, man. Sell it. You got Sadio Mane over to Bayern. You got to get out of there, John. Come on, man. But Boston, Colby has Boston as a landing spot. I personally, I said it to you guys a couple days ago. I think if Bogaerts opted out of that deal, the bridge is burned with him and the Boston Red Sox. I don't see Xander Bogaerts in a Boston Red Sox uniform next year.
His market, this is why this is the hardest, because you're right. But at the same time, like, don't you think that the Red Sox are going to kind of pony up and do it because they know what they have? And will other teams see what I'm saying and not want to give him the contract that he thinks he deserves? And he's going to go into John Henry's office and say, this is what I deserve. And how could the Red Sox say no after what he's given them? Like, I almost feel the Red Sox are the team to pay him for what he did, rather than other teams who Xander Bogaerts wasn't on your team. You don't truly know the value of Xander Bogaerts, that they are going to want to pay him for what they think he will be.
Have we not learned over the last 2 years that the Red Sox don't know the value of Xander Bogaerts?
You're also not wrong. That's why this is so hard.
I know I'm not wrong. That's been made very clear by the Red Sox front office that they don't understand the value of Bogaerts and Rafi Devers.
Yeah, but if they don't understand, especially Rafi Devers, then they don't understand shit, really. If you don't get what Rafael Devers does as one of the best left-handed hitters in baseball, and Xander Bogaerts is one of the best right-handed hitters at the shortstop position that we've seen in the decade, then they just simply don't know what they're doing. So, but I still think that the Red Sox are the landing spot, but And it's because also I read the other suitors, and I can't see him in anything else but a red hat, like a navy hat with the red B on it.
So that's probably because he spent his entire career there. I like this one that we're going to talk about. I really like the next one, but this one that we're going to talk about first, Seattle. I'm kind of in.
I'm kind of in too. I like it. But it's like, this is such not a Dipoto move, right? I feel like he's going to see what I'm seeing and he's going to be like, no, I'm not paying that
It
guy.
might be a Dipoto move.
I don't think it's a Dipoto move. Bogaerts does not seem like a Dipoto move. Swanson seems like a Dipoto move, or Trey Turner seems like a Dipoto move. Carlos Correa certainly does too. Bogaerts, of all these shortstops, for me, seems like the less likely to go to a super analytically driven team that relies on getting the young guy in a window where it's coming up right now. Like, they don't want 33-year-old Bogaerts when you have 24-year-old Julio Rodriguez, right?
I don't know. I'm kind of in on it.
Yeah, but why though? Why are you so in on it?
I'm in on it because like this veteran presence makes a lot of sense to me, because who do you have offensively that you can rely on? Gino Suarez right now. J-Rod obviously is the star of the show. Ty France is holding down a spot. Cal Raleigh's the catcher. Elsewhere, I mean, every other position is available for upgrade. Mitch Haniger has a spot. Haggerty has a spot in the lineup. But aside from that, like, do you feel good about JP Crawford being your everyday shortstop and your team leader? If you're signing an everyday shortstop and a team leader, I think that might be the play, and you can move JP Crawford over to second.
My counterpoint to that would be, aren't all the other shortstops veterans at this point? They ain't signing a 25-year-old Dansby or a 24-year-old Trey Turner or 23-year-old Correa. These guys are all in their late 20s.
The other two are $300 million guys. Like, Xander Bogaerts, while really, really good, is still $120 million at least cheaper than Carlos Correa and Trey Turner.
So is Dansby. Like, I think Dansby is a much more likely destination, but there is that Braves. That's why I just keep coming back to the Red Sox as that team that's going to give them the bank.
The one that I really, really like is the Baltimore Orioles. I love this fit because we talk about Gunnar Henderson. Yes, he can play short, but he can also play third. Xander Bogaerts can play short for the overwhelming majority. If Xander wants to DH one day, if he needs to DH, if he needs to get off his feet one day, Gunnar can slide over to short, or you've got Jorge Mateo to play short. Xander can play a little third. Say he plays 20 games at third base. Gunnar Henderson plays 110 games at third base. He plays short for 30. Xander plays third for 20, DHs for 10. I think this makes perfect sense because you can mix and match in the infield. You've got no questions in the outfield. You have zero questions behind the plate and Adley Rutschman. You need to improve the infield, and this is an immediate improvement on the infield with Ryan Mountcastle at first, Gunnar and Xander on the left side, and whoever the hell you want at second base.
This is the one. This is the one where I think to myself, if not Boston, Baltimore. There's also some hidden messaging in there, right, too? If you have Xander Bogaerts, who's upset with Boston, why not go to the division rival? Maybe not division rival because it's the Yankees, but it's still within the division. Kind of get back at your team. You get to play at Fenway where you know the team. You get to kind of give some inner secrets over there to Baltimore. And you put Gunnar Henderson at shortstop. They don't really have a third baseman. I know they have Ramon Arias, who won the Gold Glove over there at third base, and he could be a viable option. But just with the bat, like, he only played 84 games over there at third. That's why a lot of people are upset. A lot of people thought Matt Chapman should be the Gold Glove winner at third base. And honestly, like, I just don't care about the Gold Glove, so I don't want to really get into that. But just regardless, Ramon Arias at third base is very good defensively, but can kind of be used more as a Swiss Army knife kind of than use a guy like Xander Bogaerts over there at third base. And you can kind of mix and match too, slide him over that veteran presence that the Orioles as a young team really need. I think that's the best fit, not only on the field, but also those off the field things that Bogaerts could think coming over from Boston and wanting to really get back at them.
How you feel about Philly?
I have Philly in mind for another one of these shortstops more than Bogaerts or Dansby.
Okay, me too. I just don't really see it.
I
I
could
think the
see
Phillies.
it. Yeah. I could see
I
it,
don't
but with the
know. That's
defense, like they have Bohm over there at third. I
yeah.
don't think they're going to want to slide over because it's not like Bohm has made improvements on defense, but they're not going to move Bohm to like, I mean, they could move Bohm to first, I guess.
No,
But I don't know. Yeah, with
Hoskins is the
Reese,
first
I
baseman.
know, but for how long? Like, do you know how long Hoskins' contract is?
I think he's got a couple more years.
The reason why I'm not saying Philly, because I know Phillies fans are like, where are us in the shortstop? The Cardinals also. Cardinals fans are probably like, what about us in the conversation? I have you all in mind a bit later.
Yeah, don't worry. And then Minnesota is the other one. I don't really see Xander Bogaerts in Minnesota. I
Like,
wish Colby put the Cubs down here. I really do wish.
I'm glad he didn't. The Cubs have Nico Horner. They have a really good shortstop. I am sick of the Cubs being in shortstop conversations. You got him. It's not the Cardinals where we're talking about Mason Wynn and potentially a good prospect. We spoke with Justin Steele, called Nico Horner one of the most underrated players in Major League Baseball. You look at the numbers. Why would you move Nico Horner off the position? Cubs fans, I know you want to be in the sweepstakes. Go get pitching. You got the shortstop. What am I missing here with Nico Horner?
Yeah, I think so. I like Xander at third for the Cubs, and that's got to be a big conversation with
Yeah.
Xander Bogaerts. Like
Yeah, true.
Patrick
True.
Wisdom sucks
Yeah.
defense.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, I see that, but I'm more thinking in a vacuum, the shortstop position. There are 4 shortstops here. Like, what about DeGrom on the Cubs or something like that? Like, that's what Cubs fans should be looking at. And you laugh. I mean, they signed Stroman. Like,
No,
they will go get
yeah.
pitching, and they need pitching too. I mean, you can't keep putting Alec Mills out there. Shout out Alec Mills and the curveball, but like, come on. Like, I would go after those type of guys or, some outfielders rather than go at the shortstop position where you have one of the best young players on your team at that position already.
Kobe has 6 years, $178 million to the Red Sox. I disagree. Identical contract with the Baltimore Orioles. That's my guess.
I'm right in the middle of both of you. I think those are the 2 teams, and I think that contract is pretty accurate. I would be surprised the Orioles gave him that much, but I also wouldn't be shocked.